Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Joliet, Illinois, just outside Chicago for tonight's SimPossible MS4.org Truck Series event from the Chicagoland Speedway. It is an absolute beautiful day here just outside of Chicago. Winds are down, albeit it is the Windy City, so we might see them pick up a little bit later. I'm Peter Short, and joining me tonight is Cameron Rich. Cameron, it's another mile and a half tonight, but Chicagoland, it looks a little bit like Kansas a couple weeks ago, but it races completely different.
Yes, this track, the surface is actually quite old. It has not been paved since it was built in 2001. So one of the older surfaces we do race at in this series. Definitely a change of pace from last week where we were at the Gateway Motorsports Park. That, of course, a flat 1 mile oval, and here more akin to what we normally see, the 1.5 mile intermediates.
Yeah, absolutely. The speeds will definitely be really quite high tonight as we have about 3 minutes left in practice here as you watch the number 01. That's Eric Minch going around the track, and watch the lines that these drivers are running tonight. At Kansas Speedway, a lot of the drivers all preferred the high line, but I've been watching these trucks. These trucks are all over the racetrack.
Yes, and that's just a surface of this track, or a product, more akin to the track being so old and so bumpy. Of course, you see it in car right here, that truck just riding over the bumps. It kind of just skips over them. It's really bumpy on the bottom here.
Yeah, you're riding on board Kevin Cochran as he speeds down the backstretch. And one thing that is a little bit different about the Chicagoland Speedway is that backstraight is not straight. In fact, you're turning the whole way down the backstretch as you head off into turn number 3, and it makes for a little bit interesting that out of turn number 2, because the backstretch is curved, turn number 2 is pretty wide open, and it kind of sets yourself up. It sometimes suckers you up into the wall because it looks so open, and it ends up being deceiving because the banking falls away from you pretty quick. That backstretch, is really flat, and then turn number 3 is really fast because you already have a sweeping arc on entry. So definitely that backstretch has an effect on these drivers' lap times. And speaking about lap times, AJ Digby is currently top of the board by just a fraction of a second. It's about 6/100ths of a second over Tanner Sharp in the number 26 machine. Kyle Zimmer is third in practice, David Wilson fourth, and William Wise fifth, as you see Nate Catilla and Eric Minch get into each other coming out of turn number 2. But definitely some fairly close lap times up at the top. In fact, your top 5 are separated by just under a 1/10 of a second. So Cameron, I think that sets us up for a pretty good race tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. And one thing that has been a talking point over the last few weeks is the absolute domination by the Rebel Racing cars of Tanner Sharp and Kyle Zimmer. Of course, those two drivers winning the last 3 events at the short tracks. Back here at the 1.5 miles, we probably will see more what we've seen all season with Tanner and David Wilson kind of being the 2 dominant drivers on those type of tracks.
Yeah, that is correct. Rebel Racing, they actually made it 4 in a row last week at Gateway. So that team definitely on a roll here coming into the night. And one talking point that we had last week was Tanner Sharp because he missed the race at Iowa, and he definitely came out in full force last week winning at Gateway Motorsports Park. And man, he looked like he was in just about every accident, but he was able to come home with the W. Definitely showed that you just don't want to ever give up here in the SimPossible Racing League, as the clock will wind down and we will go to qualifying here in just a few seconds. But, I'll just kind of run down the remainder of the field here. Just outside of the top 5 is Chris Roberge. We've seen him with some great runs this season. Kevin Cochran 7th. Mark Dingman, only his 2nd start of the year. He is currently 8th on the board. Alan Capers 9th. Eric Minch rounded out practice in 10th position. Tom Johnson, Nate Catilla, Tim Connolly, and Brian Lowhead were 11th through 14th. But we'll now go over to the qualifying session. And Cameron, it is open quals here, so we'll start to see these drivers all start to feed out onto the track.
Absolutely, and one other thing that you just saw, the track is well and truly shaded from practice. Actually, the track temperature has dropped about 10 degrees. It was in the high 90s in practice, now 84, so that's a huge difference. It's going to give these trucks a lot more grip.
Yeah, absolutely. The current ambient temperature is 73 degrees Fahrenheit, and the track temperature is 84 degrees. We'll have to see how that changes throughout this qualifying session, because once we get enough trucks on track, that track temperature will go up a little bit, as Nick Attila, he's going to be the first man to hit that stripe. He'll be the first man to set a time here, assuming he can get around nice and cleanly. As he dives off into turn number 1, there are those bumps that you're talking about. Dives right down to that white line. And Cameron, I think for a couple of laps here, you're going to be able to search for that white line and hook that bottom, especially through 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is exactly what Nate's going to do here. But as these tires start to wear, we heard it from Tanner Sharp a little while ago, these trucks actually get a little bit loose.
Absolutely. Another thing you see here, Nate is diving way below that white line on the front stretch. That white line, or that apron area, is about a car width and a half wide. So if you are able to cut that, that can actually help you through lap time quite a bit. We see Kyle Zimmer doing it here too. Some drivers don't like to do that during the race, but a lot do, and that actually does. This isn't like Daytona or Talladega where that's out of bounds. So that area is completely legal to race in.
Yeah, we're watching some lap times start to come in here. Kyle Zimmer, he's picked up about 0.2 of a second from his practice lap time. AJ Digby just picked up over a 10th, but Nate Attila, he almost picked up half a second on his first qualifying lap. There he is in that number 4 MS4 machine, and man, that's a huge pickup, about half of a second. If you could do that in every session, man, I bet you'd feel like a golden boy. But that's definitely due to that track temperature being a little bit lower as you're riding on board Mark Dingman, his second start of the year, and the number 48 machine. We'll see what he can do as we go into turn number 3. I'm just kind of surprised that some of the drivers aren't running a high line through 3 and 4 to come to the start-finish line, because that usually gets you the best drive for your timed lap. I haven't quite seen that out of everyone yet, but Mark Dingman is going to hit that stripe and dive off into turn number 1 here. Nice and smooth, Cameron. It looks like, at least on fresh tires, these cars are nice and smooth. But I know that with a track like this, with the sun beating down on it, it will definitely loosen up over the run.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with more trucks running on it, like we'll see during the race. I do expect the track to change pretty wildly from this session to the next. We'll see Dingman run a 31.527, currently P4 right now. Comes Tanner Sharp out on the track, that Chicago-based Shriners Hospital Chevrolet Silverado. So I'm sure he's going to want to get a good lap for that sponsor here today, and a good run for the race. We see him running that high line in 3 and 4 to get that run off, like you said, Peter.
Yeah, he's going to try and get that momentum up to hit the stripe at the highest speed he possibly can in that number 26 machine. We currently only have 6 drivers who have taken time here currently, so Tanner will be at least the 7th place truck when he comes back by, assuming no one else in front of him is also putting in their first lap. So kind of surprising, as we actually now do get a 7th driver to take time, but it's kind of surprising that some of these drivers are leaving it late. Maybe that's a strategy call.
Yeah, sometimes, actually the track has picked up quite a bit of temperature. I just looked at it. It's now 93, so it's 9 degrees. It's risen from the start of qualifying. I can't imagine that it's going to help these guys' lap times at all. I mean, that's a pretty huge shift right there. And maybe it's just from the trucks racing on it, but I think Zimmer and Digby right now are 1-2. I think their times are pretty safe as far as the track temps go.
Yeah, I personally agree with you. It's one of those things, it's kind of a gamble to wait until the end of qualifying to get your lap in. That Tanner Sharp, he actually lost about a 10th off his practice time, so definitely saw some trucks pick up time and some trucks gave up some time towards the end of the session. As the session is winding down, checkered flag is out here. is a couple of drivers out there, one of which is Kevin Cochran in that number 80 machine. He has yet to turn a time, but he'll hit the stripe this time and run a 32.371. Don't think that's what he was hoping for in that number 80 machine. It definitely seems like the track conditions didn't help some of the late runners in this session, as the checkered flag is waving here at Chicagoland. Want to give a shout out to the Heartbeat Network joining us on YouTube. Thank you very much for the shout out. And Kyle Zimmer says cloud and sun will be factored big this race with the truck handling. And I completely agree that the weather conditions will play a part tonight one way or the other. They already have in qualifying. And as we move over to the race, I'm sure it will do the same. But I'm super excited for this event. Seen some absolute fantastic racing here in the SimPossible Racing League this season. If you have not looked at some of our earlier races, do so. Check them out here after this one. Well, Cameron, take us through the field.
Well, on the front row, we got Kyle Zimmer notching his third pole of the season, and to his outside, AJ Digby. Nate Catilla is going to start third, and to his outside, Tanner Sharp, last week's winner. Mark Dingman, in his second race of the year, we last saw him at Charlotte, starts fifth, and Tom Johnson to his outside in sixth. Chris Roberge starts P7, and to his outside, Tim Connolly. Kevin Cochran's going to start ninth, and to his outside, David Wilson in 10th. Billy Wise starts 11th in the 32 truck, and Eric Minch starts 12th. Alan Caper is going to roll off 13th, and to his outside, Brian Lowhead in number 66. And that rounds out your 14 truck field for tonight's events. We have 83 laps of this 1.5 mile intermediate track, and Peter, as you said, it's going to be a great race. I'm really excited to see how these drivers tackle these already tough track conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And some notes just from qualifying. Brian Lowhead, once again, he is starting shotgun on the field. We've seen him start there a couple times this year. Actually, pretty much almost every race that number 66 starts shotgun on the field. But I'm sure we'll see him move through the field quite quickly. Dave Wilson did not take times. Of course, Dave currently second in points behind Tanner Sharp. So it's expecting to see that 20 take some laps, but he's going to start a little bit further back in the 10th position. So that'll be interesting to see. And then some of the folks in the mid-pack, Chris Roberge, Tim Connolly, and Kevin Cochran, all three of those drivers looking to have a great run tonight. Seen some great speed out of some of Chris Roberge. And I know Tim Connolly, I think he's still racing with his old wheel this week, but he's bought himself a new steering wheel. And if he isn't using that this week, I know he'll be using it in the weeks to come because he's super excited about it, as the pace car will dive off here and we'll get set to go green. The race is in the hands of Kyle Zimmer, the pole man. Once again on the pole, we've seen him do really well from the pole this year. Green flag up in the air, and he's side-by-side with AJ Digby. They're still side-by-side. Great start by Digby to hold tough with Kyle Zimmer, but Zimmer is going to get that inside line and take the lead. They're side-by-side, and that's a battle for third right behind Nate Catilla. Contact with Tanner Sharp. Sharp from the wall, and as is Catilla. Catilla trying to save it. That's a lot of damage as Tanner Sharp has gone around. Chicagoland is one of those older iRacing tracks, so they don't like to throw cautions, especially when they're off the racetrack. As we'll watch this replay, Cameron, I think Catilla just clipped the apron a little bit.
Yeah, he clipped the apron there and just shot that truck up the track. And of course, when there's someone out there, there's not much you can do. Definitely not how Tanner wanted to start his race, or Nate Catilla for that matter. But we do have fast repairs, and probably will get a caution later on in this race so those drivers can get their trucks fixed up and still be in it.
Yeah, Catilla dropped back to 9th, but Tanner Sharp, he's down in the 14th position. Last car on track. He's still on track, though, but he is more than half a lap down as there he is working his way out of turn number 2, but your race leader is here in now turn 1, as Kyle Zimmer's got about a 0.2 of a second lead over AJ Digby here working lap 3.
And we already see all these drivers dipping below that white line on the front stretch, just trying to get as much speed around this track as they can. We actually saw that on the start. I think it was it was the 98 of Reverge who shot down there and gained about 2 spots doing so. So good move on that front.
Tanner Sharp in the number 26 Chevrolet has dived down pit road, so he will be 1 lap down. We'll have to see what that crew's going to do when they go to work here. He hits his marks, and I think they're going to just use a fast repair here. Yes, they used the fast repair, so that will put Tanner Sharp 1 lap down. He is the only car 1 lap down at this point, so if we do get a caution, Tanner Sharp would be your lucky dog, but he definitely thought that coming down, fixing that car was more important than staying out there on the lead lap for now. As we look a little bit further back in the pack, well, you can't really look further back in the pack than Tanner Sharp right now, but at least on track, Alan Capers looking underneath Billy Wise. That's a battle for the 7th position there. Alan Capers sporting that nice bright purple machine this week. But up at the front, you're not missing too much. AJ Digby still about 3.5 tenths off the lead as here comes Eric Minch diving underneath a damaged number 4 truck. Nate trying to do all he can with a little bit of damage on that right side of that vehicle. And Cameron, on a track that's 1.5 miles like this, where aerodynamics is so important, damage can be a big key factor in how that truck handles.
Yeah, absolutely. That's any type of damage like that on this track can hurt you a lot. Speaking of having damage, 48 of Mark Dingman has no damage, and he's the fastest truck on track right now.
Yeah, another man who got quite a bit of damage is actually Dave Wilson. We didn't really catch Dave, but Dave has a lot of damage. I think it happened right on the start of the race. He's got some left side and right side damage on that number 20 machine. So he's definitely struggling a little bit further back. So your 2 title contenders, Dave Wilson and Tanner Sharp, are both struggling here in the early going. As we look up a little bit front, there's Tom Johnson in the 56. Great start for him. He moved up 2 spots very quickly. Kevin Cochran there in the number 80 is one of your biggest movers so far. He's up 4 positions from where he started in the 5th position. And right behind him, you got Chris Roberge, and Roberge hasn't really made his move this year or this race yet, but over the past few weeks we've seen Chris Roberge have some very gutsy calls, and they've paid off for him. So we'll be interested to see what Roberge has in mind for strategy tonight. He's kind of our strategy joker, I would call him, because he definitely tries to pull a card out of the hat quite often, and sometimes it pays off for him.
Yeah, well, we've seen him do that pretty much all season long, and it works out most of the time. So definitely, I like the calls he makes. I like a gambling man myself, and well, we see AJ Digby has taken the lead from Kyle Zimmer.
Yeah, AJ Digby with a nice move on the 25 to get that race lead. He tracked him down, and looks like the 25 might have gotten a little bit loose up out of turn number 4, and AJ Digby was able to just go around on the high side while we were following those drivers a little bit further back in the pack. Also, Kevin Cochran's now moved up into the 4th position, getting around Tom Johnson. So we did miss the race for the lead, but AJ Digby now trying to set sail with some clean air on that number 14 truck. As looks like Chris Roberge now trying to tackle Tom Johnson for that top 5 position. Kind of sniffing high-low, trying to figure out a way around him, but definitely looks like these drivers are going a little bit higher up on the track at this point. Maybe the bottom line is starting to get loose with their tires, which I kind of expected. Like I said earlier on, races like this, the low line starts to give up a little bit, especially in 1 and 2 at Chicagoland. 3 and 4 tends to stay on the bottom, but I think I see some smoke on track. Not quite sure what's happened there. We stay green. Looks like someone might have just smoked their tires a little bit. AJ Digby, though, clean out front, as it looks like we do have a caution. Uh-oh. That is the 56, Tom Johnson, that has been involved in something. I don't know if that's what caused that was the smoke I saw, but it looks like he got really loose out of turn number 4. Did a great job of keeping that truck. Oh, I thought he had it saved, and then hit that wall right at the end.
And the three of Tim Connolly had some issues shortly before that. He was sitting there on the front stretch with the smoke pouring out of that engine.
Yeah, so those two drivers definitely going to have to come into the pit road and get a new engine in those machines. Yeah, a tough break for both of them, as it'll be interesting to see if Tanner Sharp gets the lucky dog. I think he will, but I'm not 100% sure. There is Tanner Sharp. He's trying to catch up to the back of the field. Great looking machine as always, but it's cool to see the Shriner Hospitals of Chicago on that truck, as I'm sure we'll see everyone down pit road getting 4 fresh tires here. And AJ Digby will peel down onto pit road. We'll see if anyone stays out to think about leading a lap. Chris Roberge is that man who stays out to lead this lap. We'll have to see if he decides to stay out and be the joker right now, or if he comes down the next time. But here we go. All these drivers now have to be focused to hit their marks. There's Alan Capers hitting his marks. Man, I think, he slid through just a little bit. I was thinking that he had shot too far. Sometimes these iRacing pit stalls are a little bit deceptive in how they're shaped and where the signage is. As we'll watch the race off pit road. AJ Digby gets rolling first, and he will just jump out ahead of Kyle Zimmer. Mark Demon comes out third. And then Alan Gaber is a little bit further back. So pretty big jump back from Dingman to Billy Wise and Alan Capers. Those two came off together, but give the spot to Mr. Capers.
You know, one thing I noticed is Tanner Sharp actually pitted with the leaders, so I don't think he's going to be the lucky dog.
That would be a bad break for that number 26 machine if he doesn't get back on the lead lap. I know we're still early on. To be the first car 1 lap down, we've seen it a couple times. If you can get stuck a lap down, sometimes it can be really difficult to get it back. It's just wrong place, wrong time sometimes. And Tanner, though, might have to try and get his lap back the hard way. We'll have to keep an eye on that number 26 machine. Dave Wilson was one of those drivers who came down pit road, and he got a fast repair on his number 20 machine. So I expect to see him here in the mix under this next run, because I think he was carrying quite a bit of damage on that number 20 Toyota Tundra. That did not help him in that first run. Beautiful view looking down on Chicagoland Speedway. I want to give a shout out to SimTV for these awesome track cams that we get to use week in, week out, and give us these awesome views just like this one all over the racetrack. But it seemed pretty calm that first run. I know Kyle Zimmer looks like he got a little bit out of shape, and AJ Digby was able to get around him, but a little bit further back in the pack, the field kind of spread out a little bit. Everyone looked like they were hitting their rhythm there, but turn 4 seemed to bite there eventually. A couple drivers getting loose up out of turn 4, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, is if turn 4 is going to be the calamity corner of sorts. There is Alan Capers in that bright purple machine. I don't think you can miss him whenever he's on screen.
Yeah, it's a great looking car there. That Next Level Racing Tundra. Great paint scheme there. I'm a particular fan myself of colorful schemes like that, just because, you know, you can see them on track more than other similarly designed or you know, other designs on the track.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've always enjoyed having a brightly colored car with this bright yellow, bright green, bright orange, something of the sort. It's always great to have a bright car. And, you know, one other thing that I like about it is, you know, if you're behind someone, you know that they can see you in the rear view mirror because you're nice and bright, especially on a night race. And sometimes a black vehicle just doesn't quite appear that well in a rear view mirror. As you see Tom Johnson, he's hustling to get to the back of the field. There is Tim Connolly in that number 3 machine. He's also hustling to get to the back of the field because we'll be going green this time by, as AJ Digby will lead us back to the green flag behind that rough RT12 pace machine. But I'm expected to see that pace car dive hard left. And man, he really does cut hard left here at Chicagoland. But in the hands of the the flag man, the green flag is back waving here at Chicagoland Speedway. Great restart by Kyle Zimmer to be right side by side. And look at this, 3 wide right behind them. Dave Wilson running the high line, trying to get to the high side of Alan Capers, but he's not able to do so. Up at the front, looks like AJ Digby's going to clear Kyle Zimmer by just a little bit, but look at the swarm right behind him. Mark Dingman looking now to the inside of the 25 machine. That's going to be a battle for second. Looking out the back here of AJ Digby, Zulu Motorsports Chevrolet, and they're just side by side, almost all the way back through the field.
And that 48 of Dingman was one of the quicker cars on that last run, so he's going to be wanting to get by the 25 of Zimmer as quickly as he can. But Zimmer's going to get that high line run off of turn 2. Not going to be able to clear him right now. But
yeah, I'm looking at the last 10 laps before that caution came out, and Mark Dingman was the fastest car over that run. He was about 4/100ths of a second faster than AJ Digby, and just about the same over Kyle Zimmer. So we'll have to keep an eye on the 48 if we start to get a long green flag run here. Mark Dingman definitely showing some speed as AJ Digby turns the fastest lap of the race so far, a 31.558. That's about 4/10 off where they qualified at, 3.5 to 4/10 off where they qualified. So definitely the track temperature, which is currently 91 degrees Fahrenheit, is affecting how these cars drive in the race condition.
Here we see Billy Wise and Tanner Sharp. Tanner obviously not on the lead lap right now. He is a lap down, but nevertheless trying to get in front of the leader and earn his lap back the hard way. He's going to dive below Billy Wise here.
Yeah, of course, those are not battle for position, but track position is very important because you want to be as close as you can to the race leader. If the leader puts someone a lap down and you are also a lap down, you want to be as close as you can so you can get in that lucky dog position ASAP. But they're definitely side by side. Here's Chris Roberge a little bit further back in the pack. He is racing with Kevin Cochran, and you can see Roberge all the way down below that white line, as you said, trying to cut the corner just a little bit, and that's actually going to help, and that's going to give Roberge up now into the 8th position in that number 98 machine, as everyone now single file throughout the field, but I'm sure that will quickly change as these guys are going around. But, you know, we said Dave Wilson was one of those drivers that I thought that damage was hindering him. He has already moved up into the 4th position right behind Mark Dingman. He's about half a second or so behind Dingman, but he's moved up quite a bit under this run as you look out front of Mr. Dingman's machine. Right on the back bumper of Kyle Zimmer. Those front three have kind of broken away from Dave Wilson, so we'll have to see if Dave will be able to close them down. As fastest man on track last lap was Mark Dingman. We'll have to see who it is this time by, and it's AJ Digby this time. So those front few drivers trading fastest laps on the circuit. Looking a little bit further back in the pack, there's the 32 Billy Wise right behind Alan Capers. That would be a battle for the 5th position. So Capers running in that 5th position, but in front of him is Tanner Sharp, and Tanner Sharp definitely on the mission, Cameron, to get up as close as he can to that front.
Yeah, definitely, and even if he can't pass the leader, just like you said, being as close as he can, you know, to the leader, in case Digby starts lapping some other trucks here, definitely going to help him a lot there.
Kyle Zimmer just closed in just a little bit last lap, just a fraction of a second, so definitely not getting away is AJ Digby, as Alan Capers looks like he was under fire there just for a brief moment. But you're not missing anything up front, just a lot of single file racing. Looks like Dingman's dropped off just a little bit, and Dave Wilson closing in on that 3rd position. Currently, your biggest mover of the race is Eric Minch, running in the 5th position, and he's running very respectable lap times. He's about half a tenth off the last lap of AJ Digby, but I've been watching him as well. He's been running some really good lap times over the last 5 to 10 laps. And we'll have to keep an eye on that number 01 Toyota Tundra.
32 loose off 4. Billy
Yeah,
Wise in the grass.
Billy Wise cutting the grass here on the front stretch in that number 32. We'll watch this on replay, exactly what happened here. And he's just running that lower line, and all of a sudden the back end just steps out from him. It's a great job to keep that truck going straight through the grass. He's going to lose some time and some track position, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I think we did actually talk with Tanner Sharp before the race and just asked him how the truck was handling, and he said it does get pretty loose on older tires, and this run we're on right now is about 10 or so laps at this point. So I think we're starting to see that with how that truck just shot loose off turn number 4.
Absolutely. We've got to give a shout out to Wesley Lee. He's in the chat here on YouTube. He says, go Alan Capers. So definitely got Alan Capers fans in the house as well. Look at Dave Wilson all up out of shape coming out of turn number 4. What a save. Look at that thing was seesawing back and forth in that number 20. He had the 26 of Tanner Sharp dive to his inside. And just watch the 20 up off the corner. Whoa, way sideways. Kept it going straight. Kept that foot in it. Definitely didn't lose much momentum as you see Tanner Sharp now running he's not in 4th position, he's still a lap down, but he's the 4th truck on track. So definitely if Tanner Sharp can get his lap back, he will be a force to be reckoned with in this one. As you see the leaders going by Tim Connolly in the 3 truck. Oh. There is Chris Reversion. I thought I saw Reversion dart towards the wall, but maybe that was just the angle he took through the tri-oval that made it look like that 98 was darting into the wall, but definitely no damage on that 98 truck. I'm sure we'd see it if there was. And he keeps it going clean and green. There's Nate Catilla, that number 4 machine. He's got some right rear damage. I think that's still from that lap 1 accident that he had with Tanner Sharp. I guess he chose not to use a fast repair, as he is right behind Eric Minch now after Minch's pass in the, trip through the grass. I don't know if it's fitting that he has a lot of grass on that number 01 machine, but definitely mowing some grass down there. As look at this now, Tanner Sharp trying to be the 3rd truck on track as he's trying to get to the outside of the 48 of Dingman. They're going to be side by side coming out of turn number 2, and I'm sure Dingman isn't too worried about that number 26 right now. He's 3rd place on track. He's probably more concerned about that number 20 machine of Dave Wilson, because Dave is now to the outside of Mark and digging for that 3rd position.
Yeah, he's going to get that run off 4 and actually get by Tanner, try to get by Tanner here. That was a great run for Wilson off turn number 4. That truck just kind of shot out of it like a cannon, but he's going to use that high line to his advantage and get in front of both of these trucks here.
Yeah, that 3-wide move around the outside as we have a caution out on the racetrack. But yeah, one thing I was going to note was just how much of a run he got. That's Brian Lowhead, who's gone around in the 66 machine. Looks like turn 4 again, Cameron. It must be really slick there as he did everything he could. Oof, hard lick with that outside wall. That right side of that number 66 machine took a beating there, and I think that engine isn't too happy with him.
Yeah, that's just that slow loose condition that really once you get the wheel turning right on that right, as we see right here, you're pretty much along for the ride, and he's gonna have to get back to the pits and get that fast repair. But gonna live to fight another day.
Yeah, it's a great thing. We do have 4 fast repairs for each of these drivers here tonight, so if they need to use one, they can choose to use them whenever they so wish. One thing I was going to note was Tanner Sharp. We saw Dave Wilson look like he got shot out of a cannon, but I think it was because Tanner Sharp got a little bit loose and Mark Dingman saw that and he had to check up a little bit. As interesting strategy here. Dave Wilson stays out. AJ Digby, though, will head down pit road. Got Kyle Zimmer in the 25, tucked up right behind him. Those two have been running 1-2 for most of this race, as Digby has led a good portion of the race so far, as he's led 25 of the first 34 laps, as everyone will hit their pit stall. We'll have to make sure everyone hits their pit stall nice and neatly, as there is Nate Catilla in that number 4 machine. We'll have to see if he decides to use a fast repair this time. Indeed he does. You see that right rear of that number 4 machine get kicked out, as this is a race off the road. AJ Digby once again will come out, your race leader. Kyle Zimmer second, Mark Dingman the third man off pit road. Then it's Billy Wise, and Nate Catilla will be next off. Kevin Cochran, Eric Mitch still on pit road. So that will do it for this round of pit stops. And Tanner Sharp, he's finally gotten that lap back. It paid off him running up through the field. So definitely be interested to see what that number 26 machine can do, because we've already seen him jump up through the field even when he was a lap down.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the 20 of Wilson dart off pit road area. It actually, yes, he does. I was going to say that was about a 15 lap run or so, and 15 laps on the tires of this track is quite a huge amount. So I'm going to go ahead and guess he was just staying out to lead a lap, and of course those points do add up during the season, and he is currently P2 in points, 7 behind Tanner before this race started.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely those points add up, and Tanner has yet to lead a lap tonight. So Dave, trying to get that extra bonus point, as there is the number 26 machine of Tanner Sharp, who took the wave around, or took the Lucky Dog wave around, and now he is getting his 4 fresh tires. So Dave will still be ahead of Tanner Sharp, so I'm sure Dave is not too concerned at this point in time about that point standings, as we still have a long way to go here at Chicagoland Motor Speedway. But we are getting close to halfway. Halfway will be lap number 82, so we're getting pretty close. And of course, these drivers, excuse me, lap number 42. I can't do math, obviously. And that we're getting pretty close, and we do have a halfway bonus for the leader at halfway, so that's another bonus point to be mindful of here. And I'm sure AJ Digby and Kyle Zimmer will both have that in the back of their minds as we get going back to green here in just a little bit. There you can see the number, I believe that's the number 56 out front, and he's going to take a wave around Tom Johnson. He's going to get one of his laps back. He was 1 lap down at the line, so he is actually 2 laps down. He's going to get the wave around, be now 1 lap down. Brian Lowhead also 1 lap down, so those two, the 66 and the 56, will be racing for the Lucky Dog once we go back green, and the pace car lights are off, so we will be going green here shortly.
And it's interesting to note, the 2 dominant intermediate drivers of the season, Tanner Sharp and Dave Wilson, have not really been that much of a factor in this race so far, just due to circumstances out of their control. But they're both back in the lead lap, damage fixed, and we'll see if they can make their way through the field and as we get closer to the halfway point in this race.
Yeah, it's still early, Cameron. It's still plenty of time to see that number 20 and that number 26 up front. But definitely been impressed with AJ Digby's pace out front, as the pace car will once again have a hard left turn down onto pit road, and we'll put the race back into the hands of that number 14 machine. Nice and slow, 60 miles an hour, and green flag back up in the air, though. Everyone hard on the gas. Nice clean restart, side by side through the race lead. Kyle Zimmer, great restart also. Billy Wise with a great restart in that number 32 machine. He almost got around Mark Dingman, but Dingman here fighting back. They're side by side for the 3rd position. That number 48 on the inside, and they're almost 3 wide behind him, all bunched up behind Dingman. I'm watching the Dave Wilson a little bit further back. He kind of had nowhere to go there on that restart, as Dingman and Billy Wise still side by side battling for 3rd. Looks like Digby's been able to jump ahead a little bit from Zimmer up front. You're riding on board now with Tanner Sharp as he tries to make his way up through this field, already caught up to the back of Dave Wilson, and now looking to the outside of that number 20 machine as Wilson kind of nowhere to go. Ooh, got really tight there through that continuous left bend back straight. I think Tanner had to back out of it and let Dave Wilson jump to the high side, and now Wilson's going to get around Nate Catilla. Look at Sharp running all the way up near the wall through the tri-oval, trying to get as maximum momentum as he can on that part of the circuit into turn number 1 and 2. And Nate Catilla, he's going to wash up through 1 and 2 and cut off Tanner Sharp. So Tanner Sharp's still stuck behind the 4 machine for now.
We see a battle for the lead. Kyle Zimmer has ran down AJ Digby. Hasn't really been able to get by Digby this entire race, but he's gonna jump down here on this apron and try to cut that corner as close as possible. Not gonna be able to make a move just yet, but the field has strung out pretty single file as of right now. This is the best battle on track. We see Kyle Zimmer's gonna look high off turn 2, but not gonna be able to do anything with that run.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Digby's giving that much bottom open through the tri-oval. I know he wasn't earlier in the run. He was running right down there below that white line, but I'm kind of curious to know if these trucks are loose. It might be a little sketchy to go down there because you really don't want to upset your truck even further if it's already loose. As you see Kyle Zimmer running really low on the racetrack, closing right up to the back bumper of AJ Digby. In fact, I think Zimmer actually had to back out of it a little bit to avoid running into the back of his 14. Here comes Zimmer, poking his nose underneath Digby. Thought wisely to back out a little bit, but definitely he's running down. He's showing his nose. He's definitely telling AJ Digby that, hey buddy, I think I'm a little bit faster than you. I want that lead because we are now at the halfway lap. So leader of this lap should get the halfway bonus point, and I'm sure that also just ups the ante for Kyle Zimmer to get by AJ Digby.
We have a battle up here. Kevin Cochran and David Wilson fighting for the 5th spot here. David Wilson's going to get, or actually that's Billy Wise on the bottom. He's going to get the 5th spot. Tanner Sharp's going to follow Billy Wise on the apron. It's going to be a dangerous move, but it's going to make it work there. And at the front, AJ Digby did lead lap 42, so he will receive that bonus point.
Yep, and you watch this gaggle of cars. That's Dave Wilson in the 4th position. Tanner Sharp now up into the 5th position. Now they're side-by-side battle for 6th. Kevin Cochran in that number 80 running that high line, trying to get around the 32 of Billy Wise. Billy Wise giving him plenty of room up there on that high side as you see Tanner Sharp dive down below that white line. And in fact, he was able to get a run on Dave Wilson. Got almost side-by-side. Oh, this is really tight. Up at the front, Kyle Zimmer's poking his nose on AJ Digby, and Tanner Sharp was poking his nose underneath Dave Wilson, so definitely action heating up here on track as Kyle Zimmer's got a great run through turns number 3 and 4, and I think Zimmer, he's not able to do anything here. I expected Zimmer to jump down below that white line, but he's got a great run through the tri-oval. But we'll have to see if he can do anything on the inside line. Looks like that inside line's lost some grip, and these drivers aren't able to keep it down there very easily, Cameron.
Yeah, Zimmer is, actually Digby is running a higher line than Zimmer throughout most of the, actually through 1 and 2 really. He's leaving that bottom apron open for Zimmer to make a move, and Zimmer just not able to do anything with it. I'm surprised he hasn't been able to yet, but another battle for position number 4, Tanner Sharp and David Wilson going at it. Sharp going to clear Wilson into turn number 1. That's really close. Zimmer all over his, or not Zimmer, Wilson all over his spoiler there.
Yeah, and the number 26, Tanner Sharp, getting a great run through turn number 3 and 4. And he was just able to cut underneath Dave Wilson and really hook that bottom. Oh, we have wreck in turn 1. We're still green flag here at Chicagoland. And Tim Connolly wisely gets off the racing surface, so we'll stay green here for a little bit. We'll have to see what the officials will make of that, but for now, we're still green flag at Chicagoland, and AJ Digby has about a 0.3 of a second lead here, so he was definitely able to gap Kyle Zimmer there just a little bit over those last few laps. And now Mark Dingman, who's actually the fastest truck on the circuit in the number 48, he's actually closing in on these top two.
Yeah, he was probably hoping they would battle a little bit harder than they did, because I think he's the fastest truck on the long run. We just haven't been able to eclipse that 15 lap mark or so, but definitely looking green right now. Dingman just a little bit quicker than the two trucks in front of him, about a 10th here, give or take a couple hundredths, but battle heating up again. Tanner Sharp and David Wilson going at it again. That's for 4th place on track. Tanner up on that spoiler, all over it for Wilson. That actually can be a good way to pass somebody with as loose as these trucks are. That will accentuate that effect, and it's a good way to get by someone.
Yeah, and if you guys remember, Tanner Sharp was actually in front of David Wilson, but the number 26 machine got loose in turn number 4, and Tanner Sharp had to back out of it. As we have a battle up front. Kyle Zimmer, we're just saying that looks like he lost some ground on AJ Digby, but he just went straight down to the bottom through the tri-oval and took the race lead. Let's see. Oh, look at AJ Digby, got really loose out of turn number 4. We were just saying it happened to Tanner Sharp. Well, it happened to AJ Digby, and that was enough for Kyle Zimmer to pounce on the opportunity. And now that number 25 Rebel Racing machine is up front, and man, it didn't look like the number 25 machine was too happy coming out of turn 4 that last time, as AJ Digby got a good run and starting to close back in. So I think we're starting to see a transition period, Cameron, of these trucks starting to really loosen up.
Yeah, Mark Dingman actually got super loose off turn number 4 there. He lost the 3rd and 4th spots to Sharp and Wilson. He's now back in 5th, so these trucks definitely aren't happy on the track right now.
Yeah, and of course, as this run continues to go on, that handling will just continue.
Oh, Wilson loose.
Dave Wilson. Yeah, you called it. Dave Wilson in that number 20 machine getting all up out of shape in turn 4. I think we should just grab the camera, put it on turn number 4, because that's where all the action is currently. There's Alan Capers in that number 13 machine. He's looking right behind the 01 of Eric Minch. That is a battle back there just around the 10th position. In fact, I think Eric Minch did move up into the 10th position with that move. Those are the last two cars currently running on the lead lap. Definitely some damage on both of those trucks. Looks like the 13's got some left front damage. As we now jump ahead, look, Mark Dingman, he's about to lose another position. Chris Roberge, we were just saying Dingman looks like he was great on the long run, but definitely that truck has loosened up. And
he actually got in the wall off turn number 4 just a little bit, kissed it, but enough to shoot his momentum and give the spot to Roberge, or the he's in the wall again. Yeah,
I was looking a little bit further in front of him. Tanner Sharp also caught the wall that time in the number 26, and he's lost quite a bit of ground on Dave Wilson. And you can see a lot of right side damage on that number 26 truck. That will definitely affect the handling of that machine. I bet you he's hoping it will tighten that truck up, because all these drivers out there look like they're skating around, as we now are under 30 laps to go. 29 at the stripe, and AJ Digby has not fallen off the back of Kyle Zimmer, so I don't think we've seen the end of this battle for the win here tonight at Chicagoland Motor Speedway, because AJ Digby is hunting for that lead. He was about a 10th and a half faster than Kyle Zimmer that last lap, and here he is right up on that rear spoiler of the number 25. And Digby has just kept it nice and clean. He's minimized his mistakes here tonight. He did make one to get back behind Zimmer, but I don't know, it looks like Dingman also getting out of shape a little bit further back. He's dropped off Roberge quite a bit. Now, as we see the 14 of AJ Digby looking for that lead, Looks like a little bit further back for all you Tanner Sharp fans out there. He's now under fire from Chris Roberge. So that's a battle for the 4th position. And Roberge has caught Tanner Sharp. In fact, Roberge was the fastest truck on track that last time by. He was 0.6 faster than Tanner Sharp. So we'll have to keep an eye on Roberge as he is trying to make his way through the field here. Nothing really happening up at the front. Oh man, there's Roberge. He dived down underneath Tanner Sharp. And I think that 98 truck is going to get the spot if he can hold there through 3 and 4. But definitely those 2 trucks getting really close in turn number 1 and 2. We'll see if anything happens. Here comes AJ Digby. Action now happening all over the track. As Digby right behind Zimmer.
Yeah, these drivers battling for the lead. We have a caution. I was going to say, right in front of them is Tom Johnson going to be wanting to keep on the lead lap, but there's Roberge getting all out of shape. Let's see what happened there.
So Roberge was right in front of Tanner Sharp, and oh, look at that. A little bit of contact there on the left rear of Roberge sent those 2 trucks half spinning. I don't know if Roberge expected to see the number 26 down there below him, but Sharp got a great run off of turn number 4. Watch this, and he said, I'm just going to jump down here, and I think Roberge decided to go down there as well. They made a little bit of contact. Both of those drivers doing a great job keeping those trucks as straight as possible, but it was enough to bring out the caution here with 25 laps to go.
And that's something we touched on during pre-race. That apron area is about a truck and a half to 2 trucks wide, and you can technically go side by side down there, but it's very dangerous, and often you see what just happened there.
So Cameron, with about 25 laps to go, I expect to see all these drivers down pit road get some 4 fresh tires for what might be the last sprint to the end, but I'm sure the rear tires on all these trucks are screaming because of how loose it is out there. Kyle Zimmer leads them down in that number 25 machine. We've seen him win from the pole a couple times here tonight, or this season, I should say. And he's definitely hoping to do much of the same here tonight, as the number 80 has stayed out to lead a lap. So Eric Minch also staying out, so they're currently 1st and 2nd on the track, but I do expect them to come down. We'll watch this race off pit road. Everyone going to work down there, and I think Kyle Zimmer is going to get the race off. Look at Dave Wilson. Dave Wilson did a great job getting off. I don't think he was able to beat AJ Digby to the line, but he might have, because it looks like Dave Wilson is going to line up 2nd here in that number 20 machine, because he's not letting anyone by. So that was a great pit stop by Dave Wilson's crew, and by my watch, it looks like Dave Wilson's pit stop was about 0.8 of a second faster than Digby's, but
he just let Digby by.
Yeah, it looks like that. Oh, well, yeah, Dave Wilson is just going to line up behind AJ Digby. So we do have a couple people on pit road right now. Kevin Cochran and Eric Minch did finally come down pit road after leading the lap. So we'll reset the field for you. Your top 5 currently: Kyle Zimmer, AJ Digby, Dave Wilson, Tanner Sharp, and Billy Weiss. We'll have a quick commercial, and we'll be right back with you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Chicagoland Motor Speedway. We have 22 laps to go in this event. Gonna be coming to 21 to go. Your leader, Kyle Zimmer. Outside of him, AJ Digby. The two dominant forces of this race so far. Gonna be a sprint to the end. And Peter, I think this is gonna be a great shootout here.
Yeah, we've definitely seen some great shootouts here in the SimPossible MSForward.org Truck Series this season, and I expect to see another one here.
Pace car gonna make the hard left onto pit road. Kyle Zimmer, AJ Digby. Digby's gonna hold him tight. Zimmer's gonna pull ahead just a little bit, waiting for the green flag to fly. Digby's gonna get a great start on the outside. He's gonna pull ahead of Zimmer here.
Yeah, I think Digby caught the number 25 sleeping just a little bit. Dave Wilson was all over the back bumper of Kyle Zimmer. In fact, Dave Wilson was pushing that number 25 down that front stretch. And look at Tanner Sharp. Tanner Sharp digging for that second position. Digby got a great start, but he, being on the high side through turns 1 and 2, just couldn't quite hold with Kyle Zimmer. Oh, look at this, really tight between Tanner Sharp and AJ Digby. Maybe a little bit of contact between those two trucks as Tanner Sharp all the way down on that yellow line, almost down into the grass through the front straightaway, and Digby is going to clear him just a little bit as the battle now is Dave Wilson looking to the high side of Tanner Sharp, and Kyle Zimmer ran really high in turns number 1 and 2, so he's already migrating to the top of the track. You better watch out there.
Got a little tight on turn 2.
Yeah, and I think all these drivers are experiencing something a little bit different. As I think that's Nate Catilla a little bit further back in the pack. It looks like he caught the
contact, Capers and Minch.
Yeah, Capers and Minch, what a save. Both of those drivers getting into one another and keeping things going nice and clean here as Catilla got the apron down there and Capers had to move up to avoid. And I don't think Eric Minch quite knew where Capers was there as they just got a donut on the sides of those two trucks as we flash forward to the front of the field and Tanner Sharp right behind AJ Digby. And we've seen Sharp good for about 10 laps. And it seems like after 10 laps, that 26 truck starts to get a little bit loose. So he's definitely trying to make up as much ground as he can here early in this run. But Kyle Zimmer has opened up a little bit of a gap back to AJ Digby.
Yeah, and that was the first time this race I've actually seen Digby dive below that yellow line on the front stretch. I think he knows Tanner's been doing that most of this race, and he's just trying to keep him behind him. I think Digby knows he's probably a little bit quicker than Zimmer on the long run. He actually did run him down on the last run and take the lead away. So doesn't want to lose that third spot to Tanner, even though Tanner has not had the best of races so far. He's gotten in trouble here and there, but definitely still in this hunt as of now. You see Catilla and Minch battling here just for a minute, but back to the front. Single file throughout most of the field so far, just waiting for the tires to kind of wear. We've seen that about 10 laps into the run. The tires just kind of, they get really hot and these trucks start getting really loose, especially off turn number 4.
Yeah, and if I was Kyle Zimmer, I was hoping that AJ Digby and Tanner Sharp would start racing each other really hard here early in the run so I could kind of skip away, but that hasn't happened. And now everyone just kind of settling in to hopefully keep their tires on their truck because, you know, like you said, when your tires start to get hot, if you can help save your tires, it will help you even more later on in the run. As Tanner Sharp diving below that yellow or white line, I should say, down to the yellow line as it's like Kyle Zimmer got tight up in turn 1 just ahead of these guys, and Digby's got a good run down the backstretch, going to close right in on that number 25 machine. With 15 laps to go here at the Chicagoland Speedway, the front 4 kind of skipped away from Chris Roberge. Roberge running in the fifth position, and he is about 1.7 seconds off the race lead, and he's got the 48 of Mark Dingman right behind him. And Cameron, I want to highlight Mark Dingman because, like we said earlier, this is only his second start of the year. He didn't finish at Charlotte, but he's driven a really clean race tonight and has really shown some speed.
Yeah, he was actually right up there in the fight for most of this race. Had a little bit of issues on the last run, getting loose off turn number 4, but definitely a great run. I don't think we've seen the last of him today. If he can get by this 98 of Reverge, I think if we get a caution here in the closing laps, he will have a shot at finishing on the podium, if not a win. But definitely the top four have driven away from these two. And Zimmer has extended his lead just a little bit. That's the biggest lead he's had this run so far. Digby has been all over him, but just a little bit of a gap there right now.
Yeah, last time by it was about a quarter of a second, the difference between Kyle Zimmer and AJ Digby, and this time looks like Zimmer pulled away about a tenth of a second that last time by. So, like you said, that gap at the front, now about a third of a second. We'll have to wait and see. They might just be trading lap times back and forth off one another. Man, I'll tell you, sniffing for that second position is Tanner Sharp. He got a great run up to the back of AJ Digby, and looks like that 26 truck already starting to kick out that rear end out of turn number 4 just a little bit there. Digby got a great run out of turn number 4, used up all the track and closed in on that 25, but looks like he might not be able to do anything. I'm wondering if the aero push is starting to affect that 14 truck. And maybe that's why he's not able to just close up to the back of Kyle Zimmer like we saw earlier.
I tell you what, Tanner got a really bad run off turn number 2, and David Wilson went for a pass on the bottom, and Tanner blocked him. So I don't think he's going to be too happy about that. But David Wilson's going to have a run up here. We have a caution. That's Dingman.
Yeah,
Dingman's out in the front stretch.
Spinning around through the tri-oval. We'll have to go back and see what happened. Oh, looks like he just got a little bit loose out of turn number 4. And unfortunately, Kevin Cochran kind of had nowhere to go in that number 80 machine as Dingman spun it down through the grass. But it looks like both of those trucks are going to keep going. I'm sure they'll come down pit road, get their fast repair. But this will be about a 6-lap shootout once we go back green. I'm really curious to know what these drivers are going to do. Are they going to take 4? Are they going to take 2? Or are they going to stay out?
Yeah, that was about 10 laps on the tires. So I think that's just past the threshold of where you can viably stay out and not suffer too much penalty. But I do think the top 3, 4, or 5 for sure will pit. But we'll have to see what happens further on in the back.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see Chris Verberge throw the dice in that number 98 machine. We've mentioned it a couple times tonight. Maybe 2 tires, although you got to be careful with 2 tires because 2 right side tires is usually the obvious choice to take, but because you tend to wear out your right front tire and your right rear tires more than you do your left sides, but taking just right side tires tends to make the car a little bit looser, so that will definitely be something to keep in mind.
We had a wreck on the pit entry there. Capers and Johnson.
Oh, there is Alan Capers. Not quite sure what happened there. We'll watch it on the replay. Yeah, I think Alan Capers might have just caught the wrong gear there and went up the track. But we'll watch this race off pit road because this race off pit road is really important. Dave Wilson throwing the dice. I think that's 2 tires. And I think that's 2 tires on Chris Reverge too. Those 2 teammates are throwing the dice here at Chicagoland. And I think Billy Wise also staying out on track. So he's really throwing the dice. He's on no fresh tires. And then you have Dave Wilson on 2 and his teammate Chris Reberge on 2 as well. They'll be your top 3 when we do go back to green flag racing, but it might only be a 5-lap shootout, Cameron.
Yeah, that's definitely going to change this race a lot right there, especially if Billy Wise stays out. As I was saying, I think it's a little too far in the run. Actually, Billy Wise is going to pull it into the pits now. Just tried to lead a lap there. But yeah, these 2 teammates up here, Wilson and Reberge, I'm not surprised that they stayed out. I think it's a great call. I think I think it's 2 tires. My mistake. I think it's a great call.
All right, well, we'll try and grab David Wilson and see what he's got in his mind. Dave Wilson, Peter Short, up here in 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yeah, copy.
Hey, man, 2 tires. That's a pretty gutsy call, but you're only going to have about 4 laps once you go back green. What's going through your mind at this point? How are you going to get that checkered flag?
Hopefully just hold my own here. I know Kyle and AJ are really fast this race, so is Tanner, so it's gonna be hard to hold them off. I'm just gonna do my best, try to run my line and race to the finish.
So I know Chris Roberge did the same thing behind you. You know, communication between 2 teammates. Were you guys both on the same page there?
Yeah, it seems like it.
Alrighty, well, we've seen the track be pretty slick here tonight. Lots of drivers getting crossed up out of turn number 4. You know, 2 tires tends to make that car a little bit looser, especially when you take 2 right side tires. You know, how do you think that's going to come into effect here with this little shootout?
Well, I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm not quite sure. I just decided to gamble on it because I've had a start in the back this race, and I've been trying to make my way up. I finally got up here, and I didn't want to risk it too much, so I didn't want to risk losing all my positions, so I decided to take 2 and hopefully get the lead out of it.
Alrighty, well, the pace car lights are off, and we'll let you go back to your job, and we'll hope to talk to you here in just a little bit, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, Cameron, you heard it. He's throwing the dice.
Yeah, I love that answer. I really don't know what's gonna happen, but you know, whatever. Let's try to win the race. I appreciate that gamble from the those 2 Looney's racing trucks.
We saw Tom Johnson get past the pace car there on the inside. He will be back on the lead lap in that number 56 Toyota Tundra. We have 13 trucks on the lead lap here at Chicagoland Speedway for this 5-lap shootout. And it'll be in the hands of Dave Wilson on those 2 fresh tires. To his outside, Chris Roberge, green flag back in the air. No wheel spin from those front 2, but look at Kyle Zimmer right over the back of the number 20. And we'll see Zimmer dive down to the inside here through turns number 1 and 2. Really tight between those 2 leaders. We'll have to see if Wilson can hold him off running that higher line. We've seen that low line feed. Oh, contact right behind. That was the 01 Eric Mincher spinning down the back stretch. Yellow flag is out. That might just seal this race. And Dave Wilson with 2 tires might have just won this thing by making that 2-tire call. Let's watch this yellow come out. Brian Lowe from the, yeah, it looks like a little bit of net code as we watched off the front of Brian Lowhead. Unfortunately, Lowhead got involved in that. Nate Catella got involved in it. Billy Wise involved. Tim Connolly, unfortunately, had nowhere to go in that number 3 machine. But let's watch this on the replay. There is Billy Wise, Alan Capers. They're coming off the corner, and it looks like Eric Minch and Catilla were the 2 that got together, and Alan Capers, unfortunately, nowhere to go. I'm sure.
Yeah, we see Dingman involved there too. Tough break for him. Ran so well early on, and just wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, and Mark Dingman is still on the track, but he's in the grass in turn number 3, so we hope that him in that number 48 truck is okay. You will look off the front bumper of Tim Connolly and watch this track close up. I mean, you're watching off of Tim's truck, and it looks like he has this thing cleared, and then all of a sudden, it just, oh man, it just closed up when Billy Wise got shot down. Tough break for Tim Connolly in that number 3 Dale Earnhardt inspired truck. But there he is, Dave Wilson, with that 2-tire call. He was just able to keep a nose in front of Kyle Zimmer when that yellow came out. I don't know if he would have been able to keep that lead for another lap, Cameron. So I'm sure that yellow was pretty timely, and I'm sure Dave was excited to see that yellow because he had a whole bunch of angry Hornets right behind him.
Yeah, he actually was pretty loose there through 1 and 2. Just he gave the bottom to Zimmer and barely hung on there, but it's a great strategy call nonetheless because you never know what's going to happen on these restarts, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And today it's going to work pretty well for Wilson. He's going to come out with a win.
Yep, there's no time to get back to green flag racing here at Chicagoland Motor Speedway, as we'll just get to pace around for the next few laps. Tanner Sharp, we saw him be so fast here tonight. Looks like maybe a 4th place finish for him. Yes, Chris Roberge, he also benefited from that 2-tire stop. Like he is going to come away with a 3rd place finish. So once again, Chris Roberge throwing the dice, and it works out for him once again.
Pretty tough break there for AJ Digby too. Gonna come home 5th, but probably was the fastest truck here tonight. I think he led the most laps, and if we remember last week at Gateway, he lost the race by a literal inch or 2 when the caution came out. So definitely gonna be a little bit disappointed with that result, but showed a lot of speed here today, and I think that's gonna bode well for him later in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to give a shout out to people in the chat. Wesley Lee, I know he was rooting for Alan Capers, and tough break to see Alan caught up in that last scuffle. Got to give another shout out to the Heartbeat Network, always supporting us here on 3Wide TV. Thank you to them. And I think we might even have seen Mark Dingman, and it says, bummed, 2 appearances that were good races for me and wrecked out of both. That's a tough break, Mark. We hope to see you again next week when we head to the Kentucky Speedway, as the white flag will be waved in the air this time for Dave Wilson in that number 20 Toyota Tundra. It's always a good looking truck there. But Cameron, next week is Kentucky Speedway. It's another 1.5 mile speedway, but it races quite a bit differently than this one.
Yeah, it's pretty similar on paper. 1.5 mile track, old pavement, bumpy, but quite a bit less banking. And I do believe that race will be at nighttime, so a lot more grip. I don't expect to see these drivers struggling with the rear end like they did all day today. But the Kentucky does put on a good show with these trucks. I have watched a couple of the official races this week, and it's a very interesting track to watch. So I think it will be really, really awesome.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely a fun track to race at. Is Kentucky? It's a multi-grooved racetrack, even more so than Chicagoland. Seems like Kentucky, you could run almost any groove at any point of the race. So I'm definitely looking forward to the show that these guys can put on there. But Dave Wilson in that number 20 machine, he's going to come out of the final corner. He's going to come get his 5th win of the season here in the SimPossible Racing League MS4.org Truck Series. And there he goes, grabs that checkered flag for the 5th time this season. Yes, he just gives the outside wall a little kiss. No harm, no foul there, as this race is over. And I think you're seeing Chris Roberge come up right behind him, because we've seen it a couple times this year where Chris Roberge loves to give a congratulatory bump to Dave after these races. These drivers, they're getting around this track at speed. I think they need to realize the race is over. It looks like almost that they want to keep going. Yes. Yep. Dave will finally come to a stop and light up those rear tires. And as you see Tanner Sharp give a congratulatory wave, as they have synchronized donuts here on the front stretch. As we are now trying to drag Chris Roberge here, the 3rd place finisher, Cameron Rich, has caught up with Chris.
Chris, 3Y TV, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Hey, man, that was a pretty gutsy call there on that last pit stop, taking 2 tires with your teammate. Obviously, it worked out pretty good for him and for you. You end up with a 3rd place finish. Tell us about your race, bud.
Well, the race was pretty well. It was fun. I know me and my teammate did take 2 tires at the last stop there, because I noticed that.
A little bit of possible technical difficulties with Chris Roberge. Chris, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, we saw you have some issues there in the first part of the race. You were a really fast truck on the long run. I was actually watching you, and you were able to usually drive your way back up to the top 5 while starting in the back. Did the track? We saw the track change a lot. How did that affect the handling of the truck?
Well, well, first time it was getting a little tight, and then after a while, for so many laps, it does getting loose a bit.
And we talked to your teammate there on the last caution, and we asked him if you were in lockstep with each other for that 2-tire call. Was that something that just happened, or did you make the call, or did he make the call? What happened with that?
I think we just did our own.
All right. Well, you heard it from him, doing their own thing, and gonna come out with a 3rd place and a 1st place for those 2 teammates. Chris, great run tonight. That was a great race by both you and your teammate. You got any shout-outs for us?
Yes, thanks to Jeff Smith to host this race. Thanks for my teammate there for 1st place, and then a big shout out to you guys too, and a big shout out for my wife for watching me too, and hopefully this GoFundMe will work for us too still.
Yeah, obviously that GoFundMe to replace Chris's wife's bike. She has a disability as well and had her bike stolen a couple weeks ago. Obviously, that's a great cause to get up behind. Chris, one final question from us. Next week is Kentucky Speedway, a track somewhat similar to this, but also different. How are you looking forward to that race?
Well, I've been practicing on the other race, official race on the normal iRacing, so I'm used to that.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks for talking to us. Congrats on finishing 3rd. Great race, but good to talk to you. I think Peter has caught up with our 2nd place finisher, Kyle Zimmer.
Kyle Zimmer, this is Peter Short here in the 3-Wide TV booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yeah.
All right, man. Unfortunately, Dave came in here and took away some of that Rebel Racing dominance, but still a great performance for you tonight. It looked like you had a very, very fast hot rod starting on the pole and ending up just about 1 position short. But talk us through your race and let us know how those last few laps went.
Yeah, the truck was very fast all race long. I mean, it was me, AJ, we were pretty identical lap times all race, and the truck handling was not too bad, but when the long run comes and really tire gets weared out a lot, especially off of turn forward, it could be really loose at time, and I think that's mostly changing through the green flag. That's what happened to me both times, and was fun race, and the last few laps, last reset, I knew was gonna be a tough one, and especially with Dave and Chris were in the front road with 2 tires, I think, and they won Dave the race right there with the caution. It's kind of like almost like Iowa all over again with the finish of the ending under caution like that. But second place, I'll take it home for that.
One thing we saw tonight, Kyle, was it looked like whenever you got out front or when AJ was in front of you, it looked like it was fairly difficult to get up to the rear bumper of the other truck in front of you. It looked like there might have been some arrow push on that truck. Was that what you guys were facing? Hey, Kyle, looks like we might have had some technical difficulties here. The trucks out there when you had AJ in front of you and when you were just in front of him, it looked like there might have been some arrow push, and it just looked like you weren't able to close up as much as you would have if there was an arrow push. Is that correct?
Yeah, and behind another car, and I think made it more. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but it could be tight at times, especially in turn 2 when you get off the corner. It could be really tight at times. Sometimes I had to let go of the gas at times, and but I feel it wasn't too much change behind whoever behind the truck, and but I wasn't into the traffic so much, so maybe heavier traffic might be a lot more tighter there than where I was at the whole race long. But turn 4, I noticed you probably noticed when I was leading at times when I got off of turn 4, the bottom lane I was really getting loose, so I had to use the second lane to get momentum out of the corner and then keep the cars more stable there. Track was changing on and off, especially with the clouds. Clouds were coming in and out during the race. It was definitely challenging track condition at times today.
It made for a very exciting broadcast to watch up here from the broadcast booth, and I'm sure on YouTube here on 3Y TV. I'm gonna have to ask you about next week. It is the Kentucky Speedway. Sounds like a lot of drivers enjoy that track, myself included, because there's so many lanes you can race there, and these trucks put on a good show. What are your thoughts about Kentucky Speedway?
Kentucky is a good track for me, I would say, and it definitely could be somewhat similar to tonight, but not as much tire wear out, I would say. Definitely could be similar, but track is definitely similar, and the long runs, I would think it would not too much different from tonight, but I believe we are going to night race, so probably would be a lot of grump in the long run, so it definitely would be interesting what happens at Kentucky.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle, I'm sure you got some shout outs for us, so take it away.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to shout out, obviously, the sponsor, of course, Airborne Graphics. I also want to shout out to my team, Rebound Racing. I want to thank everyone who participated. The link, Jeff, of course, who built this link up. Without him, this wouldn't be around. And definitely like thank you guys for broadcasting. You guys do an awesome job. I love watching you guys all series, and I also like to thank MS4 sponsoring the series, and yeah, definitely looking forward for next week already.
Alrighty, well, Kyle, we thank you for stopping by. Congratulations on your second place finish, and we'll see you again next week. Cameron Rich is working his way down to... As Tanner Sharp's made his way, Cameron, take it away.
Having some technical difficulties up here, but Tanner Sharp, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, I wouldn't say that's probably not the race you wanted totally, but you did come home with a 4th place finish, which in in light of everything that happened to you that race, is not too bad. Just walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, it wasn't the finish we were hoping for. We were hoping at least top 3. I was broadcasted my onboard view on Facebook Live, so and I said during the race, man, if I can get top 3 out, this would be a good day. But either way, it turned out to be a good day. Lap 1, I don't know what happened. I didn't even look at the replay or anything like that. But we got some contact with somebody on our inside and put us in the wall, and we ended up getting a meatball flag, which requires us to pit to fix for damage. So we did that, went a lap down, got a caution that we needed, but we were distracted inside this truck and just pitted instead of taking the wave around or the free pass. So we squeezed out another caution there, got back in the lead lap, raced with some guys up there. Was pretty much patient at the halfway point, and by the time I got to it, man, we were racy as all hell. Just didn't get a top 3 today. Good thing on Dave and Chris's part for grabbing them 2 right side tires. That saved their day right there. Otherwise, me and Kyle on stickers, we were coming along with AJ Digby. So overall, good points tonight. Dave might have the points lead right now, but I mean, we got Kentucky. We got quite a few more races to go before we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's one thing we did touch on right before the race is the points battle between you and Dave. Of course, swapping pretty much every week. And what? So now that this race is over and done with, what is your kind of strategy to? Are you gonna try to? I think you know that you're gonna be in the chase now, pretty much. But are you gonna go out there and just try to win as much as you can to get as much bonus points as you can?
Why stop? I mean, we're gonna go out there. We're gonna give it our all every single week. This is the never give up attitude, and it shows what we did tonight and other weeks that you guys have seen here in SimPossible. What I've done, come back from a dismal pit road speed penalty, wrecked or something like that, still came back win. I mean, I guess you could say Gateway was a fine example of that. So we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. We got to cut down on mistakes just a little bit, try to stay out of trouble, and try to be up there at the front where it counts. So we'll get it done. Don't count us out.
Absolutely. Never count out those Rebel Racing trucks, both you and your teammate, Kyle Zimmer. We do have the Kentucky Speedway next week. I know that's a pretty popular track for a lot of drivers just because you can run wherever you want, really. And, you know, it's a great race to watch. What is your thoughts on that place?
Oh, it's a 1.5 mile racetrack, nice wide. It's very bumpy at times, especially the apron part of the racetrack where you'll see guys take to gain an extra advantage just a little bit on lap times. Kentucky, I tell you what, man, the way we ran tonight, we felt like we were one of the fastest trucks. So if we bring the same truck and go to Kentucky, we should be really fast. We just got to cut down the mistakes a little bit and not get too aggressive at the early portion of the race. That's going to get us in trouble. So if we can do that and get that track position, we'll be out front and we might win some more races.
All right, well, anyway, 4th place run tonight. We know you have some shout-outs. We saw you had a special paint scheme tonight. You probably want to talk about that. Let's go for that.
Yeah, first off, Shriners Hospital for Children. I was a part of that under the age of 18 when I was a kid as well. So Shriners Hospital for Children, who help all sorts of disabilities, and also what's special about it tonight is we put the AMC arthrogryposis multiplex congenta awareness on it. Not a lot of people in this world know about it, but I encourage you to go to www.amcsupport.org to learn more about that. There is a 2019 press conference about the awareness this upcoming year on July 3rd to the 6th of 2019. It's the 14th annual arthrogryposis multiplex congenta support conference in Norfolk, Virginia. So go to that if you can support AMC. So gotta get the awareness out there for AMC. And also thanks to the sponsors here tonight, MS Forward for their sponsor of the truck series here. For more information about those guys, go to www.msforward.org. They're a community that offer a gathering to improve mental and physical fitness for disabilities. Shriners Hospital for Children, AMC, Mountain Dew, Conups, you guys, Free Wide TV, Jeff Schmidt for bringing on this awesome league of the SimPossible Racing League to give all kinds of disabilities want to try out iRacing and a place to race. So thank you to everybody for making this happen.
All right, you heard from the man himself, Tanner Sharp. great cause to get behind. Of course, Norfolk, close to where I live. I'll have to go check that out myself. But Tanner, thank you for talking to us. We really do appreciate it. Great run tonight. It was fun watching you come back through the field. Hope to see you again next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, hoping that another tornado doesn't blow me away this week, I've caught up with the winner of tonight's race, Dave Wilson. Dave, you took your 5th checkered flag of the season tonight. You made an amazing call right there at the end of the race to take 2 tires. Take us through your race. Take us through that 2-tire call, and take us through that very brief green flag run.
Well, at the start of the race there, it kind of started off on the wrong foot for my end. I got put in the wall going into turn 1, and I had a bit of damage for like the first 30 or so laps. Eventually a caution came out and I was able to get that repaired. Then it was just more so just trying to get to the front of the pack again, or just trying to get up front, sorry. And eventually, I guess, I was able to find some pace on the longer run, and I was able to get quite a few passes in, got up to the top 5. Just tried to run my best up there. Those guys were really fast tonight, and it was definitely tough to keep up with them. Tried to keep the truck clean as much as I could as well, and coming onto that last caution there, I decided to take 2 tires just because I know it's worked in the past for me, so I just tried it out tonight, and it turned out how I was hoping for.
Now, I'm going to ask you this question, which it's a loaded question because it's a what-if question, but had the race gone green, do you think you would have been able to keep the likes of Kyle Zimmer and Tanner Sharp behind you on 4 fresh tires?
No, I don't think so. Going into that corner, I know I overdrove it a little bit, and they were definitely going to get a huge run coming out of that corner, and my race definitely, I probably might have been able to hold on to a 3rd place, but I'm not quite sure if I even got that.
Yeah, they were definitely a great big pack of hornets buzzing right behind you. So, you've got 5 wins now on the season. You're definitely going to close in on Tanner Sharp. You look forward a little bit further to later in the season. That's definitely put you in a good points position. How does the points position that you're in, how does that change your outlook towards these last 15 or so races?
Well, I'm really right now I'm just trying to hold on, just trying to finish as well as I can. Hopefully get top 3s or even wins from now until the end of the season. Just trying to catch up to Tanner again. It's going to take more good finishes to get that, and he's a really fast driver, so it's going to be hard to keep up with him every race, but I'm going to do my best, and hopefully I can get a really good finish in the championship.
Absolutely, and my co-commentator Cameron Rich has nudged me and said I can't do math because there's only 11 races left, but let's look at the next week. Next week it is Kentucky, so after that one there'll be 10 races left. I hope I'm doing my math there right. What do you think about the Kentucky Speedway? Because the race is similar to tonight's race, but it's completely different.
Yeah, I've never really raced too much on Kentucky, so I'm really going to be hoping for the best. I know I tried it out there last week in the B car, and it was really bumpy in the turns, and I hope the truck's a bit smoother, but it's really just going to end up to see how the race turns out.
I know we will all be waiting to see how that race turns out as well. Well, Dave, you got any shout-outs for us before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out everybody in this league. It's unreal that we're able to do this every week, and it's always a blast every time. I'd like to congratulate my teammate on a 3rd place finish there. I know he did the same strat as me and ended up getting a 3rd place, and that was really good on his end. I'd also like to thank you guys up here in the booth for doing these commentaries every race, as well as streaming them every week. It's always nice to be able to go back and watch these races from the outside perspective and see what happened throughout every other part of the race that we weren't in.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, we thank you for stopping by with us again here this week, and congratulations on getting your 5th win this season here in the SimPossible MS4.org Truck Series. We'll see you next week.
Alrighty, see ya.
All right. Well, Cameron Rich, he has caught up with league owner Jeff Schmidt. Cameron.
Jeff Schmidt, Cameron Rich here. You got a copy?
Hey Cameron, how you doing, buddy?
Awesome, man. Well, we have about 15 or so races to go. No, I'm just kidding. That's what Peter said. We have 11 to
Hey
go
now.
now.
Chill.
And another great race by these guys. Like we know you watched it. Great to watch them up here. What was your thoughts on tonight?
Yeah, it was wild. Great racing. Some guys had a little trouble that they weren't expecting to have, which, I mean, in my perspective, makes it interesting. I know in their perspective, they might think, no, I don't want to see trouble. we just want to race clean and have a good day. But, I mean, in racing, sometimes you want to see different stuff happen, and it makes it exciting. And it was a really exciting race.
Absolutely. We love watching them up here. They're always great to watch, and especially with some strategy at the end. And Jeff, I do actually have a question for you. We know coming up is the Daytona 24, one of my favorite events, and we know some of the SimPossible drivers are going to be actually running in that. I know you are part of that. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we're proud to have a SimPossible racing team running the 24 Hours of Daytona this year. They're going to be racing the Friday night, this Friday coming up, race at 8 o'clock. I'm going to be there to just show my support. The 4 drivers that are going to be running it are going to be Billy Wise, Eric Minch, Kyle Zimmer, and David Wilson. And they've been putting a lot of hard work into practicing and working on setup, practicing all that stuff, and they're really quick. They're doing an awesome job, and we expect them to have a great finish. You know, running a 24-hour race like that, just finishing the race is an achievement. And I'm proud to say that 4 guys from our league are going to be doing it.
And would I be correct in saying that will be streamed somewhere by one of the drivers?
Possibly. A couple of the drivers were talking about streaming their stints or possibly streaming others as well. If that is something that we're going to do, I'll make sure to share it to the SimPossible Facebook page so everyone can view it, and possibly even somewhere on YouTube. That's up in the air yet. I would stream it myself, but I don't have that capability with my PC, unfortunately. But I know the guys were talking about that, and if that's something that we're going to do, we definitely will put it out there for others to watch and cheer them on.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. I know myself, Peter, and maybe Carlos are all running the race, and it's going to be really fun. I hope that maybe one of us can get in the same race as you guys. It'd be great to see you in the same race. Try to pop in somewhere if you guys are chilling out, and I'll definitely show my support when I'm not driving. But we know you got some more shoutouts for us. Let's hear them.
Yeah. First and foremost, 3Wide TV. You guys do an awesome job every single week. Look forward to watching these races after the race, and I could sit here and watch these just like I do as an admin, but it's a whole different perspective, and not only a different perspective, but hearing the announcing, you guys do an awesome job announcing. It's a whole different story. It feels like watching the whole race over completely differently. So, and I'm sure the drivers feel the same. I mean, when you're driving out there, you only see so much, and sometimes you wonder what really happened here, and what did I do wrong? What did I do right? They take notes of these things so being able to see that afterwards is awesome. So thank you guys for that. MS Forward, huge shout out to MS Forward. Without them, this whole thing wouldn't be possible. They're our series sponsor, our main sponsor here, and we're very appreciative of what they do for us. So thank you, MS Forward. Their website's msforward.org. They got a Facebook page that's MS Forward. A gym out of Omaha, Nebraska that is designed for people with disabilities. So it's very fitting for them to be part of what we do, and couldn't be happier. So thank you, Daryl, and MS Forward for being part of what you do, or being part of what we do rather, and jumping on board with us. We couldn't be happier to have you. And Skylar Allen with Go Fast Racing League. That's another league I want to give a shout out to for those that don't have a disability. If you're looking for a league to run, go check out gofastracing.us. Always recruiting drivers. They're going to be running Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. Trucks and Xfinity will be fixed, and Cup Series will be open. And that will be starting in February and follow NASCAR schedule. So go check them out. There's a driver sign-up form at gofastracing.us. Go fill out that driver sign-up form, read the rules, and come join. I'm an admin of that league, have been for a couple years now, so it's a really fun league to run in. And Skylar Allen, the owner of that league, has been a great help to SimPossible with our website and with our TeamSpeak and all that. So big shout out to Skylar for what he does for us. Got to shout out the drivers, the spotters, their friends and family, the viewers of the YouTube. Thank you all very much. Your support is very heartfelt, and we appreciate everything that you guys do to support us. You know, without a lot of the support, it just wouldn't be the same. So thank you to everyone that has been a part of this, continues to be a part of this, and in the future will be. And if you're a driver with a disability, come join us. The website is www.simpossibleracing.com. And there's a driver sign-up form on that website. So if you are a disabled driver and want to join us, go check that website out, fill out the form, and we'll have you on track.
All right, you heard from the man himself, Jeff Schmidt, the owner-operator, the big man of SimPossible Racing League. Thank you so much for talking with us. And yes, if you are a disabled driver, please check that out. And if you aren't, please check us out on 3Wide TV or continue to support us. We love broadcasting this series as much as we love watching it. But that's it for today, or this race. We have Kentucky next week.
I think we have the race results coming up. Just to run through those, Dave Wilson, like we said, getting his 5th checkered flag of the season. Kyle Zimmer coming home second. He led a decent chunk of the race, but not quite able to get that win. In 3rd place, we had Chris Roberge with a great 2-tire call right near the end. Tanner Sharp, a good recovery for him. He was in the wall in lap 1 and came home 4th position tonight. AJ Digby led the most laps, but that number 14 machine finishing in the 5th position. 6th place, Kevin Cochran in the number 80. And Tom Johnson in 7th after he was a lap down very close to the end. He comes home with a 7th place finish. Ryan Lowhead started shotgun on the field, finishes 8th here tonight. Billy Wise 9th. Alan Capers rounds out the top 10. And the 11th position, just off the screen here, was Eric Minch. Nate Cotilla finished in the 12th position. Mark Dingman making only his 2nd start this season. He finishes 13th, and rounding out the field is the 3 of Tim Connolly. Well, Cameron, it was an awesome race. We saw just a little bit of everything here tonight, but hopefully we get to see the same next week at Kentucky.
Yes, these drivers are going to put on a great show there. They put on a great show every week. Going to go about 5 hours down the road to Sparta, Kentucky for another similar track, but also very different, like we've been saying. But that's all we got for tonight.
Absolutely. And before we go, just want to give a shout out to SimTV for their cameras once again, because they help us bring this wonderful production. And also give a shout out to the man behind the cameras, Carlos Acosta, running the shots here each and every week on 3Wide TV. And speaking of 3Wide TV, make sure to like the video and subscribe to see races throughout the week here on YouTube.